Hey guys, it's DBD Gamer Girl here. Welcome back to my channel. So recently I posted a video on what happens if you don't recruit Shadowheart for the entirety of the Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough. Arguably, I thought she was the most important one because she has the Astral Prism in the beginning of the game, and that's kind of the key to survival for the entirety of Baldur's Gate. But this got me thinking about, not recruiting the other companions. So interestingly, I did a run where I didn't recruit any of the companions. And I would like to tell you about the results of what happened, because I did notice a couple of interesting things. Like, some things are explainable. Other things I feel like I don't quite understand why they happened. So it would be cool to hear your guys' thoughts. So let's start with Karlach. Karlach was an interesting one because, I walked up to her, I tried to recruit her, and, basically the first thing she says is about the paladins that are looking for her, and she really wants your help with defeating those paladins, so they stop chasing her. And she also offers her help to you, like, in return for, figuring out how to get the tadpole out of our minds, etc. But you can decline this offer of teaming up and basically just leave her there. She does try to convince you a lot. I feel like she even tries flirting a little bit, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Damn. After a decade in hell, I was hoping for a little company, especially some who look like you. But I can take a hint. Good luck out there. You're gonna need it.
But you can basically decline it. Then one thing I tried to do was I went and I defeated the paladins myself without Karlach, and then I went back to speak to her. And interestingly, at this point, you can tell her that you defeated the paladins, and she's like, "Oh, great, thank you so much. Let me make it up to you. Let's team up." And funny enough, at this point, you can basically not say no. Like, there eventually comes to a decision where you cannot say no, and it's like you're basically like forced to recruit her.
Change your mind about teaming up? You did? That's amazing. Join up with me. Let me do you a favor in return. For now.
I mean, you can avoid this by not speaking to her again, after defeating the paladins. But to me, it seems that if you talk to her after defeating the paladins, you're basically forced to recruit her, which is kind of interesting. But until that point, she's just standing in the same spot, like in the forest, kind of like near the water. So, yeah. So next, let's talk about Wyll. So Wyll, you can go speak to him initially at the Grove where he's teaching the kids, where you would normally recruit him. There he tells you about his search for Karlach, and then you can essentially choose to invite him to come to your camp, or you could just, leave. I feel like when you first talk to him, Wyll doesn't really personally suggest teaming up. Like, he doesn't really seem to try to make a bargain for actually working together. Like, he's kind of chill with like whatever you decide to do, which was kind of interesting. Then, I left him there. Later, I encountered Wyll basically at the Grove near Zevlor when we're going to have the Tiefling party. And he was there, and at that point he kind of makes more of a move saying like, "Oh, let's try to team up, like I think we should team up." And you can say no, but he takes it gracefully, very typical Wyll. And honestly, this is the last that I saw of Wyll in the entire game. But one thing that I will say is I never encountered Mizora. Like, if I didn't recruit Wyll, I never encountered Mizora. Not in camp. In Act 2, where she's normally trapped in the pods under Moonrise Towers, she was not there either in the pod, which I thought was kind of interesting. Because I don't fully understand how not recruiting Wyll doesn't make her trapped in the pod. Like, it seems like she has a different sequence of events if you don't recruit Wyll. She doesn't get captured. And in Act 3, like, normally you'll see her near Gortash's coronation or like at the entrance to the lower city, and she was just not there. So I didn't see Mizora at all in the game, which was really interesting. Next, let's talk about Gale. So I did rescue Gale from the waypoint just so he would have, you know, a fighting chance, because otherwise I think he just dies there. But honestly, that is the last I saw of Gale too. Like every time I went back to the waypoint, he was just standing there and I didn't see him make any moves, and that's the last that I saw him.
We're most certainly going to need a healer, and soon too. How about we lend each other a helping hand once more and look for a healer together? Are you certain? There might be danger around the next corner, and a wizard is excellent company to keep. You're quite significant loss. Farewell then, and good luck.
Another interesting point is I did not see Elminster. So normally, you know, you'll encounter Elminster before you enter the Shadow Curse lands on the mountain pass, or he'll come to your camp at some point, but I did not see Elminster for the entirety of the game without Gale being recruited, which was interesting. Next, let's talk about Lae'zel. So Lae'zel was a very interesting one because I actually did see her a couple of times. So I did rescue her from the tieflings, like at the very beginning of Act 1, and then I just chose not to work with her, and she's like, you know, I think you're dumb, but, you know, fair enough, and we just parted ways.
You would sacrifice yourself to Gale. Such tiring mediocrity.
Then I encountered Lae'zel again, kind of right before entering the mountain pass, and she kind of joins you there, and if you end up fighting those people and Lae'zel survives, she tries to recruit you again, essentially. Like, she basically says, you know, I really think we should team up. I have this way of purification. Let's go find the creche. And she kind of judges you for saying no to her at this point, because she takes it as purification is the only way to get rid of the tadpole, and she thinks you're kind of dooming yourself to death. But she lets you be, and you can part ways here again.
You possess a modicum of competence, though it pains me to say so. An alliance is pragmatic, for the time being. Githyanki teaching is as infallible as Queen Vlaakith herself. To remove a tadpole, there are but two paths. Purification at a creche, or beheading. Any other cure might be offered as a lie. Cast it from your mind. An abomination grows within you, yet you would refuse purification. Pah! You invite your own misery.
Then, when I entered the mountain pass, I saw Lae'zel again in the mountain pass, and she's kind of pacing around between like the little outlook near the Trail to Crags area. She also goes kind of near that little elevator thing that goes down to the creche. She's in that area and she's like looking around for the creche. And she goes to like some statue as well. Like, she's kind of like wandering around and she's doing this loop. Like, she was constantly doing this loop. So she was in this area. If you talk to her, she does try to, you know, say, let's go find the creche together again. But you can just continue this indefinitely, and you could just leave her and you don't have to team up, and she just continues the little loop. After this, I ended up going to the creche. You know, I quickly like speed ran the creche. I killed the Inquisitor and I left. When I went back to, you know, the mountain pass area, Lae'zel was not there to be found anymore, which was interesting. So after I cleared the creche, she wasn't there anymore. After this point, I entered Act 2, and lo and behold, she was at the very beginning of the Shadow Curse lands, and you can see her getting hurt by the shadows, and she keeps healing herself. And I did talk to her at this point, and, you know, she tried to recruit us again.
Good. You've come to your senses. Come to the creche. Let us be cleansed of our tadpoles.
Like, basically saying the same dialogue that she was saying in the mountain pass, but I said no. And then I did kind of just stand there and watch her, and eventually she died. So she keeps getting hurt by the curse, she heals, gets hurt by the curse, heals, and then I guess eventually she runs out of potions and she just dies. Which, honestly, Lae'zel, what are you doing? Like, I feel like she's smarter than that. I mean, I feel like, you know, there are torches at the entrance to the Shadow Cursed lands. I feel like she could have picked up a torch and, you know, just like made that association, like made that connection, but apparently she doesn't, and she dies to the curse in Act 2. And it's very confusing to me, honestly, why she even entered the Shadow Cursed lands. Like, was she really not able to find the creche at the mountain pass, even after she was like directly looking at it? I don't know. It seems very questionable. I think she is actually smarter than that, and I really don't know why she would have entered the Shadow Cursed lands anyways. And last but not least, let's talk about Astarion, because his is extremely interesting. So with Astarion, you know, I met him in Act 1, you know, at the normal like area right near the Nautiloid crash where you normally encounter him. But instead of teaming up, I just left him there, and he was kind of just hanging around there.
Wait, that's it? You're doomed, sorry, and then off to the next adventure? These worms are doing something. I can feel it. What are you going to do about it? Funny. Well, maybe I'll see you again. Still wearing the same skin, I hope.
In Act 1, I did not kill the monster hunter, which I do wonder if that had an impact on this outcome of what happened with Astarion. But after this, I went through Act 2 and without incident. And then in Act 3, I decided to do Cazador without Astarion. And guess what I found? Astarion was there in the ritual as a zombie. So Cazador was, you know, sacrificing him to ascend, or he was trying to sacrifice him to ascend. But Astarion was there in the ritual as a zombie.
Wait! No! It cannot be. Were you the one who took my poor Astarion under your wing, only to abandon him so cruelly? Oh, please, I care not for your petty drama. In truth, you made all of this possible. Now that he is mine once more, I have everything I need. This ritual, this black mass that has been centuries in the making, is finally ready. Witness the birth of the vampire ascendant. Ecce Dominus!
Now, Astarion being there doesn't really surprise me because, you know, the monster hunter was going after him, other spawn were going after him. All these people were trying to go after him to try to bring him to Cazador. But yeah, basically, I'm not surprised Astarion was captured by someone or the other, but why he's a zombie is a little bit perplexing to me. And I think what it might be is that the monster hunter that we encounter normally in Act 1, he had said that he's trying to go to Auntie Ethel to get help on capturing Astarion. And as you know, with Auntie Ethel, like Mayrina's husband Connor had become a zombie at some point. So I feel like maybe she did something like that with Astarion, where the monster hunter like killed him, and she was like, oh, let me revive him as a zombie so that Cazador can still use him for this ritual, because he won't be of use to him if he's dead, I guess, during the ritual. So that was interesting. And what's even more interesting is after, you know, I kill off Cazador, and Astarion basically dies, you know? No matter if you free the spawn or not, I did end up freeing the spawn, but Astarion was still dead, I guess, like, because he was a zombie in the first place. But I was actually able to revive him. I mean, I couldn't speak to him, but I was able to revive him. And as an experiment, I even brought his body to camp and revived him there. And interestingly enough, he kind of like goes to his normal spot where his tent would be, and he like does his like usual animations as a zombie. Like, you can't talk to him or anything, but yeah, it's just super weird. I think it's kind of bugged, but I thought it was interesting that he was a zombie at Cazador. So, you know, it's basically safe to say that, you know, basically none of the companions would survive without Tav, like, in my opinion. Maybe Shadowheart, I feel like that's still an open question. If you care about Shadowheart, you can watch my previous video because I covered her in detail. But basically, I don't think any of the other companions really survives. Like, you know, we kind of see their outcomes. Karlach, I mean, she would obviously just explode at some point anyways. I guess Wyll and Gale, we never actually saw their bodies, so there is hope that, you know, somehow they survived or did something. But, you know, I guess we'll never know. Let me know, you know, what you guys think happens to the companions. I'd be really interested in hearing your opinions on these findings that I have. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy my content. I do have a Discord server where I would love to talk to you guys more. I have Discord server access available as a perk in my lowest tier of channel membership, so it's 99 cents a month. If you guys were interested in joining that, it would really help me out, and I would love to talk to you there, and I'm planning to start game nights there soon on my Discord, if you guys want to play Baldur's Gate or other games together. I hope you guys are having a great week, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.